my hope is that after this conversation, you leave here with some actionable insights that you can actually take and implement into your business and your advertising strategies, regardless of the size of your budgets. And that's what I want to really drive home, is that it doesn't matter necessarily how much we spend, it matters how we spend it and the strategy behind the advertising that we do. So with that, actually real quick, before I dive in, can I just have a quick show of hands? Who in here is a business owner? Awesome, okay, cool. And then who wears a marketing hat? Whether you're the business owner doing the marketing, awesome, okay, great. So this will be fun. I would love it too. If you guys don't mind, I'll do way better if we're a little bit interactive. So I'm gonna leave time at the end for questions, but I would also love it if something pops up while we're chatting to raise your hand and shout it out. So I find that these go way better when we're bouncing back and forth and sharing ideas and stuff like that, because I want to add as much value as I can. So quickly want to introduce myself. My name is Ben Sorensen. I'm the founder and the president of Ascent Digital. As I mentioned earlier, we're a Durango-based full-service digital marketing agency. I've got a degree in marketing. In high school, I competed at the national level at a thing called DECA. So you're looking at a state champion in business services marketing way back in the day. Not quite as cool as a football state championship or anything like that, but my point is I live and breathe marketing and advertising. It's been something that has been in my blood from way before I even realized it. And now the fact that I get to do it full time is really fun for me. So in addition to that though, like I mentioned, I'm also a small business owner. And so I get to really relate with the businesses that we work with in the sense of how important growth is and proper exposure for our brands and things like that. I also host a podcast called Chasing Greatness. I'm an ultra runner, I'm a father, and just really super excited to be here. So quick overview of the agenda. Today what we're gonna do is we're gonna talk about how we can compete with big brands even with a small brand budget. We're gonna talk about rethinking the sales funnel. One of the biggest things we have to recognize is how consumer behavior has evolved in very significant ways. And so we're going to talk about how the standard sales funnel is outdated and more of the fluid customer buying journey now that we're experiencing nowadays with a modern consumer. We're going to focus on the who, the what, and the where when it comes to your advertising. We're going to talk about the stages of the buying cycle, like I had mentioned, advertising tactics and messaging best practices, and how to keep your customers in your sales funnel, and then also some targeting versus retargeting conversations there too. So like I had mentioned, at Ascent Digital and with my background in marketing, I've been doing digital advertising for businesses for the last 15 years. And at Ascent Digital, we are fortunate in the sense that we get to manage millions of dollars in ad spend. We work with hundreds of businesses and we run thousands of campaigns all over the country. And we're a performance-based agency. So what we do oftentimes is we pay attention to the performance of our campaigns and we're trying to figure out which campaigns are performing the best and why. And what we've found is that much like the big brands that we're all aware of, there's three main variables that contribute to the success of advertising campaigns. And believe it or not, budget is not one of them. And I define it as strategy, but basically what those three variables are, the first one is a full funnel approach, which we're going to talk about the different stages of the sales funnel. But we found that brands that have top and mid funnel tactics as well as the low funnel tactics get a much higher return on investment for their advertising. The second one is that they have strategy behind it, and that's that who, what, and where, which we're going to talk about here in a little bit. And then the third is video creative, which we're not going to dive into video creative today, but those are the three main variables that we have found that take campaigns from good to great. So what we want to dive into today is those full funnel tactics, the full funnel strategy of it, and then the messaging of the who, what, and the where. And that's also what we found big brands do. And what we're excited about is that small brands get to learn from big brands and apply those same tactics to your advertising strategies. So let's talk about the sales funnel. One of the cool things about advertising and marketing is that we basically have two paths that we can take as brands. So if you're a business owner, you're in business for a reason because you know that people are needing the goods or the services that you're providing, right? And you can basically take one of two directions, and I always recommend that we take both. But path number A is securing existing demand. And basically what that means is that when people look for the thing you offer, we need to make sure that we're presented as an option. It's a very linear approach. The return on investment with that is somewhat transactional. Like I mentioned, it's very linear. The other path, though, is generating new demand and building new demand. And that's what I want to talk about today with this full funnel approach. And basically what that is educating people about the goods and the services that we offer, inspiring them, and creating new demand. The downside to it is that there's a very long, not very long, but there's a longer time horizon for the return on investment as opposed to securing existing demand. However, with a long enough time horizon, the return on investment is exponentially greater than if we just focus on the existing demand. So the idea would be that if we're intentional about the way we execute our campaigns, we generate new demand, we present ourselves as the option to fulfill that demand, and we teach our customers how to move their way down the sales funnel and end up converting with us. So here's our standard sales funnel. You'll notice at the top it's branding and awareness, and then it moves down into interest and research, consideration, intent, and then conversion. That's the sales moment. And then retention, so keeping people loyal with your brand and engaged with your brand. And what I want to talk about today is how important it is to focus beyond just the conversion point. So many businesses that we work with look at their ROI and it's like, hey, we got a Google AdWords campaign running. How are our display and our social ad campaigns impacting that? And what we're finding is that we're dealing now with a very savvy modern consumer. And modern consumers are researching well ahead of time, and their decision is made way before the conversion moment. And so if we neglect the top and middle of our sales funnel, we'll find that our conversion rates actually go down very significantly because of how much of that buying process happens at the top and the middle of the funnel. So the biggest thing, and if you're taking notes, write this down, because this I'm hoping will be the most impactful takeaway from this conversation, because you'll be able to apply this to every single thing that you do advertising. Every time you advertise, ask yourself these three questions. Who are we talking to? What are we telling them? And where are we telling it? So it's who's our audience, what's our messaging, and what's our platform. Or another way to think about it would be what's our targeting, what's our creative, and what's our platform. And if we're intentional about who we're talking to, what we're telling them, and where we're telling it, we'll be able to put ourselves in the shoes of our customers. And like I had mentioned earlier, we have now these incredibly savvy, well-educated digital consumers nowadays who are researching, they're consuming content, competition is fierce, and there's this dynamic cycle now that happens in the buying journey. And so what we want to do is we want to have communication styles that resonate with our customers where they are on their specific stages of the buying cycle. And what that means is we have to talk to them in meaningful ways in the right moment. A good way to think about it would be, when are we asking for the sale? Or what's our call to action, and what's our ad copy look like? If we're in an awareness stage and we're trying to convert somebody to buy our product online or something like that, our messaging is not aligned with where the customers are in their buying journey. And so think about that even beyond your digital advertising tactics. I was the other day at the grocery store, and I was pushing the grocery cart, and there's the ads on the grocery cart. And I thought, hey, what a cool example of how strategy can still impact our advertising decisions no matter where it is. So if it's a phone book ad, it's your ad on the shopping cart, or it's your full funnel digital campaigns, if you're asking yourself, who are we talking to? What are we telling them, and where are we telling it? You'll automatically have an advertising strategy. So ask yourself those questions regardless. But what we found, like I had talked about, is that consumers now are way more savvy. And as brands, we have to understand that. And we have to realize that we need to add value for people's buying journeys. And we can't just be asking for the sale all the time. And so basically what we've done is we've taken that sales funnel and we've flipped it on its side, and we've mapped what we call the customer buying journey. And the customer buying journey essentially has 5 stages. So the first one is awareness. The second one is consideration. The third is is intent. And then the fourth is conversion. And then the fifth is retention. So we have to understand that our customers are in this cyclical journey always, where are they aware of our brand? Are they aware of the problems that we solve? Are they aware of the products and the services that we offer? Consideration is going to be when they're now in the research mode. So we've educated them that we exist, or that our products exist, or that our services exist. Now they're going to be gathering more information, and they're considering options. And this is an important moment for us as brands, because we have to now be adding value. And so now is not the time to be selling. It's the time for us to be educating our customers, adding value. I joke at the office all the time that we can give away the recipe. The cake still won't taste the same. But again, in such a saturated world now with information overload for people, the best thing we can do as brand is add value when people are in their consideration phase, because it's going to position us as authority. It's going to position us as credible, and it's going to build trust with our potential customers. Third is intent. So this now is where they've gone beyond. Now they're aware of the product or the service that we offer. They're aware of the problem that we can help solve. They've considered their options, and they've researched, and they've learned, and they've dug in deep. And now it's time to buy. So now they've got different buying signals, and now we're able to give them different messaging, because we know that the intention is greater at this stage. And then fourth is the conversion moment, and we'll talk about some messaging and some best practices that we can deploy at that stage when people are going to be actually making the purchase, whether it's an in-person purchase or a digital purchase or whatever it might be. And then retention. So obviously the most important thing we can do as businesses and as brands is to keep the business that we've earned. I find a lot of times the customers that we work with forget about how important it is to stay engaged and to continue to nurture our existing clients and our past customers. Like we talked about, one of the biggest things that sets apart the most effective campaigns that we run versus more of our average performing campaigns is that they're deploying what we call a full funnel strategy. And so we're focusing on the customer at every different stage of their buying cycle. And we have top, mid, and low funnel tactics that we're deploying simultaneously. The trick is that they have complementing messaging, and that we're creating a cohesive experience for our customers. So wherever they are in their buying journey, we're meeting them with that meaningful messaging. And so this is a quick breakdown of what that full funnel strategy looks like. And I'm going to dive into the specifics of these tactics here in a little bit. And I'm really hoping that we stay interactive with it. In fact, I'd love if we can use some examples of people that are in the room with your businesses, and we can kind of brainstorm together. But this is an idea. So in fact, let me skip. This is the slide that's out of order. Here's the sales funnel again. And then over here on the right are advertising tactics as they relate to the stages of the sales funnel. And so, like I'd mentioned, a lot of times we run into businesses that focus just here on the low end of the funnel with Google AdWords or paid search or whatever it might be, and end up neglecting the top and the mid stages of the funnel. So there's some different tactics that are really cool, but the idea here is that you can see the different stages of the funnel and the different advertising mediums and platforms that you have at your fingertips. And then again, who are we talking to? What are we telling them? And where are we telling it? And if we understand where people are in their buying cycle as that relates to the sales funnel, we'll know the different tactics that we need to deploy and the different messaging that we need within those tactics. Yes?
For the newbies of us, can you explain what display and site retarget display are?
Yes. Funny you should ask. I think it should be the next slide if they say it in order. Almost there. It'll be the next one. So, are you a business owner? Do you have a business?
Sort of, yes.
What's the business?
A nonprofit, and I'm in marketing for them.
Awesome. What's the nonprofit?
We help business owners retire and sell to their employees.
Okay. Cool. Let's use that as an example right now then. So you help business owners retire and sell their employees. Exit planning, to keep it simple? Okay, cool. So what we're going to do now is I want to talk through the different stages of the sales funnel, the buying cycle like we had talked about. And I would love it. I'm going to get some feedback from you guys while we're going through it. But what I want to do is talk about the different tactics and then some ideas or some examples that we could deploy for messaging so that those tactics relate to the different stages of the sales funnel, if that works. So one of the best top funnel tactics is streaming TV and YouTube pre-roll advertising. These are those awareness stage, very, very high-end top funnel tactics. Display will be next. I thought that it'd be on this slide because it's an awareness piece too. But so if you think about, okay, let's put ourselves in the shoes of our customer, and in this case, it's a business owner who is starting exit planning, for example. Maybe the awareness stage piece is a business owner that isn't aware of the fact that they need to start exit planning. That they're in the thick of their business and that's not even top of mind yet. So an awareness strategy for us would be, who are we talking to? Business owners. What are we telling them? That they should start thinking about exit planning. And where are we telling it? YouTube, streaming TV. And so YouTube pre-roll is one of my favorite advertising tactics because a lot of people go to YouTube, I joke and I call it YouTube University, but there's some amazing targeting elements through YouTube. It's owned by Google, so we get to take advantage of all of Google's data and Google's targeting elements. Obviously, we can do geographic targeting, we can do behavioral targeting and demographics and things like that. But one of my favorite things about YouTube is that we can do content targeting. And so we can place ads before content that's indicative of the fact that somebody's starting, being aware of that stage of their buying cycle. So it might be a small business owner who's watching a YouTube video about how to value their business. I don't know. But something that's like the very high level piece of content that somebody would go to YouTube for. And if we understand now who we're talking to and the type of content they're consuming, it'll help with our messaging strategy on it. And so an idea for that would be, it could be something like very simple of, if you're a business owner, have you started exit planning? Or it's never too soon to begin your exit planning or something like that. The other great thing about YouTube pre-roll is that they're all skippable ads. And so I love deploying these for our clients because anytime somebody skips the ad, we don't incur costs on it. So it's a great opportunity for brands to get some free brand exposure. And then obviously if people don't skip the ad, we had a good engaged audience. So if you're gonna deploy YouTube pre-roll advertising, make sure that your brand is at the beginning of your creative, by the way, in the first 5 seconds, because if somebody clicks the skip ad, you still get the brand exposure and the brand lift for it. Streaming TV is another example. So streaming TV is where we get that captive audience. And again, though, we get to deploy targeting elements with it. My point with this is that these are high funnel tactics. And so this is not our time to be selling. Like I had mentioned, our messaging has to be appropriate for who we're talking to and where we're talking to them. So a lot of times we'll see businesses that want to always be closing. They have those strong calls to action and we're looking for conversion tactics and whatever it might be. Like for example, if we're talking about the exit planning one, if you don't mind, I'll pick on somebody else the next slide. But if we're selling exit planning services, in the top funnel, it's probably not a good idea for us to start asking to schedule a free consultation or asking for that conversion moment. Instead, what we want to start doing is getting gears turning and adding other value. So it might be a great opportunity for us to direct them to our website for a free resource or a downloadable one sheet or something like that where they can actually now continue through their buying cycle. And so again, the whole takeaway here is that we have to understand where people are in their buying cycle, how that relates to our sales funnel, and then talk to them in a meaningful way that resonates. If we're using a top funnel tactic like YouTube and asking somebody to schedule a consultation with us, we're not going to be effective whatsoever because they're not there yet. They're not ready yet. So who are we talking to? What are we telling them and where are we telling it? Go ahead.
With streaming TV, maybe I'm missing something, but I've done so much research. I don't understand. Is there a certain platform? How do you get onto Hulu, Max, and all of those places?
Hire Ascent Digital. No, I'm just kidding. So there's companies that exist that are called demand-side platforms. Genuinely, Ascent Digital, we have a seat at a company called The Trade Desk. They're our demand-side platform. And what we're able to do through that is purchase inventory programmatically. And so that'd be how ads are placed on those streaming services like you had mentioned. You can also go directly to a lot of those streaming services and place ads there. But the best way usually to do it is programmatically. The reason is because I believe strongly that we should focus on to whom we're talking, not necessarily on what platform, not on the channels. You know, like in the example we're using right now of a business owner, I don't care if they watch Hulu or Paramount. We want to talk to business owners. And so those are some of the benefits of programmatic, which, there we go, finally. Okay, cool. Programmatic display advertising is one of my favorite top funnel tactics. And at the end of the conversation today, we're going to talk about some differences between targeting and retargeting and how we can utilize programmatic display advertising for it. But again, these are ideal for brand awareness, retargeting. They're great for driving traffic to your website. And they also work really well when they're complemented with low funnel tactics. It's been really interesting. So a lot of the times what we do for clients that are on more of the conservative budget spectrum is we'll deploy programmatic display advertising along with paid search. And it's probably the simplest way to get a full funnel advertising strategy deployed and the most cost effective because programmatic display ads and paid search go hand in hand really well, and I'll talk about that here in a little bit. But the way programmatic display advertising works is we're able to target people based on their online behaviors, their online activity, and then also their demographics. So let's do another example, if that's okay. Is somebody else I can pick on? Go ahead.
So we only see them on Angler, it's a retail shop.
Great.
And a fly fishing shop.
Perfect. So you've got a really broad audience in the sense that it's everybody that fly fishes, right? And we do retail and we offer fly fishing trips as well. Cool. So the display for that one would be, a great idea of building that brand awareness and letting people know that we exist in the first place, and probably getting gears turning about gear that they need before the trip, planning a trip, holidays, who knows what. But this is a great opportunity for us to get our message in front of the people, in front of people at a high level before they're even actively looking for your services. So the idea would be, they're not now, like if somebody's doing a Google search and they're looking for a guided fly fishing tour, we have different messaging for them. The person though that we know fly fishes and isn't necessarily like that far into their buying cycle, we probably want to have different messaging at the top funnel for them. Brand awareness would be a great piece. Go ahead.
Can you just give me a tactical example of what programmatic display advertising looks like as I'm like on the internet playing around and I get hit with it? What is it?
Yeah. So the example I usually use to show people is yahoo.com. If you go to Yahoo, there's usually a top display ad at the top of the screen. There's usually a display ad over on the right-hand side. News sites serve ads programmatically. A lot of those content sites, emails, I'm trying to think, but CNN, Fox, Yahoo, all of the major content sites usually have ads programmatically. So again, who are we talking to? What are we telling them? And where are we telling it? What's our messaging? What's our audience? And what's our platform? Social media, go ahead.
So when you say like CNN, whatever, are different people around the country are seeing different ads?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
It's not like a national ad, it would actually be focused on the region you're targeting.
Correct. Yep. Yeah. Yeah, and one of the coolest things, so I love it, we run my wife's a real estate agent, we run ads for my wife, and just recently somebody sent her a screen grab of her display ad on 9 News, and I was like, how the heck did you get your ad on, Denver 9 News or whatever? And it's cool style points, because a lot of times, especially for small brands, programmatic display advertising is actually very, very affordable, believe it or not. So we can deploy programmatic display campaigns for a couple $100, and it's a lot of times very premium placement that is next to big national brands or big national articles or things like that. But again, the idea is to whom are we talking? And so that's where targeting becomes so important. We don't want to just throw our ads out there. We want to be very intentional about who's going to see them, where they're going to see them, and what the messaging is on those ads. Social media advertising is also one of my favorites. Now, social media can be interesting though, because there's it's high and mid funnel for us. A lot of people have really, really good results actually converting through social ads. The trick is we don't want to jump straight to that conversion strategy. So what we're finding works really well with social media advertising is if we throw a really wide net and we stay high level, top funnel messaging, building that brand awareness, helping people as they're gathering information and into that intent and research stage. And then what we do is we deploy custom audiences for people that interacted with the ad. So people that clicked through and learned more about you through your website, or people that engaged with the ad or checked out our social media pages or whatever it might be. Then we deploy a second ad creative to them because we know they've moved down their buying cycle. And those are what we call custom audiences. And with those, we have different messaging. And so the idea would be if we want to really guide people through their customer buying journey and down our sales funnel, the messaging has to evolve with the different stages of them as well. So social media is a great platform for that because we get to use different stages and different messaging, and there's such amazing targeting elements. And again, it's very, very cost effective. Bang for the buck wise, social media is amazing for how huge of a reach we can get. But also, like we had talked about, we have to just be very, very intentional about who we're talking to and what we're telling them. Because who here goes on social media to be sold to? Raise your hand. No? We go on social media to be entertained, right? So we think about what's our customer doing and where. They're on social media to be entertained. So if we're a brand and we want to deploy messaging that resonates with them, maybe we should be entertaining on social media as opposed to salesy. And those are those things that I really hope we take away from today, of just that intention about our messaging on the platforms is that maybe the area for us to say, used car salesman, what's it going to take? Probably not. We need to meet them where they are in their journey, because the customers are so savvy and so advanced now that they'll see right through what we're trying to do. And so that'd be a good example of who are we talking to, what are we telling them, and where are we telling it. If we know where they are, it'll help with our strategy. Can I pick on somebody else for the next slide? Is there another brand in here? Yeah, go ahead.
I do precision agriculture drone solutions.
Ooh, thanks for giving me an easy one. Precision agriculture drone solutions, which I love. We talked earlier. Oh, actually, here we go. This worked out good for me. I got lucky. So paid search advertising now is kind of that other arm I was talking about securing existing demand. So these are people that are actively seeking a solution to their problem now. So again, it's a different customer at a different stage of their buying cycle. And we get to now have different messaging for different people on a different platform. I would recommend for you in a huge way, long tail search terms. So what we found with Google is we joke at the office that if we had to hide a dead body, we would do it on the second page of Google, because nobody goes there. But what we're finding is again, along those lines of how advanced consumer behavior is now, people refine their search terms if they're not finding what they're looking, if they don't find what they need immediately. Like literally the top 5 search results, if they don't find it, we don't keep looking, we refine what we're searching for. And you're so niche that you probably have some great opportunities to capture long tail search terms. They're probably very affordable too. So the idea would be, we were talking earlier, you and I, about you can fly your drones and help people get early stage insights if their crops are starting to fail or get diseases or whatever. There's likely a chance that somebody's Googling for insight about that. And they probably don't understand that, high quality aerial imaging from you is a good solution. They're probably looking for other indicators, right? So they're going to Google and they're looking for how to tell if my crops are healthy, or how to be proactive about crop health or whatever. And I'm not a farmer, so apologize for if there's a farmer in here, I apologize. But that now is a great opportunity for us to realize that that's a very high intent search term. And now we get to talk to them in a more salesy way. So this low funnel stuff is now, they've gone through that whole buying cycle. They've become aware of the problem that we solve. They've become aware that we exist as a brand. They've gone through their research and their intention stages. They've looked at competitors. They've Googled stuff. They've read Wikipedia articles. They are now a very, very educated, savvy consumer. And now they're looking to convert. Now they're looking to actually solve their problem. And now we get to talk to them in a more direct way. So who are we talking to? Farmers that are looking for help figuring out if their crops are healthy. Like I said, thanks for giving me an easy one here at the end. What are we gonna tell them? Find out if your crops are healthy through aerial imaging. You know, like now we get to have that real direct messaging that's taking the guesswork out of it for them. And so be thinking about that for the other brands that are in here. We've done a really good job of talking to people in a language that resonates with them, depending on the stage of the buying cycle that they're on. And if we use the same words that they're using, our messaging is going to resonate even more. There's a tactic that I love, and it's, since I'm up here with the microphone, the terminology is dynamic ads. Thank you. So it's called dynamic ads on Google. And basically what you can do is you can structure your Google ad campaigns to dynamically change your ad copy to use the term that the person searched. So the idea would be if somebody's like looking for crop health or crop disease, dynamically we can pull in the words health or disease into our ad copy. So we're paying very close attention to who we're talking to and what we're telling them, and we're talking to them in the language that they're using as well. And so I love using dynamic ads because it automatically helps us talk in the same language that our customers are talking to. Who are you talking to? What are you telling them? Where are you telling it? Go ahead.
So in the whole awareness of all this stuff, you've talked about affordability on some of these ads. What do you consider affordable when you look at breaking it down? Is it like 11 cents per click, 11 bucks per click? And you're like, hey, we really nailed it because we got this type of traffic at this small rate.
Yeah, great question. So the question, affordability, what we're tracking and defining what affordability is. Not all traffic is created equal. So it should get more expensive as you go down the funnel. And we kind of are always wanting to balance that quality versus quantity piece. In the sense of paid search advertising and Google AdWords, the higher the intent keyword, typically the more expensive it is. I don't know if there's any like personal injury attorneys in here or anything like that, but if, you know, we're looking at $20, $30, $40 a click for terms like that, where more of the broad terms are gonna be less expensive. What I would pay attention to more so than the cost per click is the quality of click. So KP Pond, right? So you probably have different profit centers and stuff that you know is more profitable for the business. And I would be way more willing to pay more for quality traffic for you know the higher margin or the higher more profitable revenue streams of the business. The brand awareness stuff should be way less expensive because it's less quality of traffic, but it's just as important. And so the idea is that one of the things that brands run into all the time is it'd be a whole different presentation, but it's called last click attribution. And it's a fallacy in digital marketing where people think that all of our business comes from Google because that was the last click, like that was the end of the journey. But what happens is if we deploy those top and mid funnel tactics like I was talking about, our money at the end of the funnel goes way further. So even if a click is expensive at the end, we have really great affordable options for impression-based pricing and impression-based advertising at the top and the mid end of the funnel that should make your budgets go further on your paid search and your low funnel campaigns. It's a complicated one, but we can dive into it. It'd be separate. But quality over quantity is really the idea on it. And like how much are we willing to pay for based on where they are on their journey. So if somebody was gonna say, hey, you know, this display campaign is gonna cost us $20 per 1,000 impressions or whatever it might be, and this one's $4 per 1,000 impressions. Well, what's the targeting? Because generally speaking, the more targeted things are, the more expensive they're gonna be. So, any other questions? We have 10 minutes, and I don't even know where I am on my slides anymore, but this is great. Go ahead.
If we need to revisit this at some other moment, that's fine. I'm wondering if you have any insights. It's a year-round small business in a very small community, but there is an influx during the summer. So the summer months will be carrying a lot of the load for the winter. Is there a difference in how you're going to go about things in that situation? And different targeting, what have you?
Yes, yeah. So it's great to be aware of that too, like where the influx of businesses are coming and if it's seasonally. And there's ways that, again, who are we talking to, what are we telling them, and where are we telling it? If we can start to proactively know when those influxes are coming and start to guide people through that buying journey beforehand. So, there might be some great strategies we can implement in the shoulder seasons, like before that huge influx happens, to take as much advantage of the influx as possible. And then there's also some great tactics that we can do to leverage the data and the traffic at the peak to then extend, to try to flatline those ebbs and flows as much as possible, which I think is maybe my next slide. So let's see if I'm lucky. Yes, cool. So targeting versus retargeting, and I'm almost out of time, so I'm gonna go through this quickly because I wanna leave time for other questions. Again, with those ideas of who are we talking to, what are we telling them, and where are we telling it? I just want everybody to understand the differences between targeting and retargeting. So targeting, the most simple way I can explain it is who we are. So it's our demographics, our behaviors, our geographic locations, our hobbies, our interests. It's like who we are. Retargeting is something that we've done. And so one of my favorite things to do is take targeting to bring people into our sales funnel. But the problem is what will happen is we bring people into our sales funnel and not everybody's gonna get all the way down to the conversion stage. They're gonna leave. Then we use retargeting to bring them back into the sales funnel. So these are things like search retargeting, site retargeting, and then we can also do, actually, it's called micro proximity and geofencing, but physical location retargeting as well. What we can do is when somebody has visited a website or done a search inquiry and not converted, they can go into our retargeting bucket. And that's where, again, those ideas of strategy of who are we talking to, what are we telling them, and where are we telling it. One of the best examples I can talk about for retargeting is I bought 40 acres in Hesperus a while back, and I was doing all sorts of research about the barn that I was gonna build. If I was gonna do a kit barn or a pole barn or whatever. And like 6 months later, after I went through my whole buying journey, I did all the customer buying cycle and everything, came to the conclusion that I came to. 6 months later, I got served an ad from Versatube, the metal barn kits, and the ad copy was "still need a barn," and I loved it because they definitely did search retargeting on me because I had done the search behaviors, and whoever's running their campaigns probably understands that their buying cycle is that 6 month mark, probably right about, and so they wanted to bring me back into their sales funnel even though I had converted. But there's some great ways that we can take advantage of actual activity that people have done, because it gives us insights into where they are in their buying cycle. So like in the sense of the seasonal business, for example, some really cool things we can do, like installing a pixel on the website and tracking all the website traffic during peak season and then advertising to them afterwards to bring them back into the funnel. Maybe it's like a fall special or a repeat business. But the idea is that we have to understand the activity that they've done that forced them into our retargeting pool. So they did a search for the problems that we solve. They visited our website. They physically went to a location where there's a high concentration of our target audience or whatever it might be. But because they've taken those actions, we know where they are on their buying cycle. And that's really what's important, is that if we understand where people are in their buying cycle, we can talk to them in a meaningful way. So I just did like 10 years worth of marketing strategy in 45 minutes, and I know I just made everybody drink from a fire hose, so I appreciate it a ton. I've got 7 minutes, and I'd love to answer some questions if anybody has any.
So on that retargeting piece you're just talking about, when you were searched, how did it just pop up? Did you actually go back to their website and it popped up? Like, how did it?
Thank you. Yeah, it was a programmatic display ad. So envision that I was on Yahoo, and I got served a display ad that said, "Are you still interested in a barn?" Go ahead.
What if you delete your cookies? Then
Yeah.
in the browser.
Yeah. There's other tracking capabilities beyond just cookies. So search behavior, for one, doesn't necessarily need cookies. And we can track people's search behaviors beyond just Google, too. There's a whole lot to that for sure. But, there's obviously, it's not a perfect, like anything, it's not a perfect science. Yeah.
Well, I was just gonna ask, when you're talking about geofencing, is that something like you market, someone interacts with you, but they're not from this area, and then when their phone shows up in our area, it sends them something?
Yes. Yeah. There's some really cool applications for that. So anytime there's a large concentration of our target audience, we can do what's called geofencing, and it basically pings the devices that entered that geofence, and it can be as granular as a building. We can do the building and the parking lot. We can do a block. We can do a conference center, whatever it might be. But it is amazing. And I'll throw it out there, I'll offer for people, if there is an application that would work for your business, we can generate what's called an audience insight report. And I can geofence an area, and I can give you data on the devices that entered that area over the last year. So we can figure out their household income, their buying propensities, if they have kids or not, their home zip codes. I mean, some amazing stuff. And then we can leverage it, though, to advertise to them. So like, for example, a lot of times people will geofence conferences because they know that there's a high concentration of their target audience at a specific conference. Anytime when somebody's physically going to a location, we can then leverage it. As long as we know who we're talking to, what we're telling them, and where we're telling it.
When you do geofencing, do you have to go through an agency, or can you do it just on your own? How would you do that?
We use the trade desk for that as well. And there's barriers to entry on that for sure from a price perspective. I don't think you have to go through an agency, but you probably should.
Colorado last year gave grants out to small rural towns like chambers and different town administrations to be able to buy an account for 1 year for one of these data centers.
Oh, cool.
And they were all able to get these really cool, like super granular reports that are usually like $40,000. And so Silverton got one.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, they're fun, and we would do that for free. For anybody that's in here, we would generate an audience insight report for you for free. So if you wanted to geofence your competitors or a conference or anywhere where your customers are, I love it. I geek out over the data of it, and it would just spur a fun conversation. So I just throw that out there. I'm not like this isn't an offer or anything, but we generate them all the time. So.
Do you keep track of all this stuff? Because I can't keep up with this stuff.
Digital marketing, you mean?
Yeah.
Barely.
No, I mean, like, if I come to you as a client, are you going to be tracking all of these things, or is that something?
Well, and that's some of the benefits of hiring an agency. I mean, shameless plug. You're hiring us for a reason, and we get to, we're strategists, and we're always thinking about our messaging and our targeting and our platforms and all of that good stuff. But really, what I want the takeaway to be for everybody is, regardless of your budget, regardless of where you're advertising, if you just ask those 3 questions: who, what, and where. Who are we talking to? What are we telling them? And where are we telling it? Just by asking those 3 questions, your effectiveness is going to go up exponentially. Whether it's a shopping cart ad or, geofencing or anything in between.
Speaking of where, because we work with retiring business owners, a lot of people think we should go online or social. What would you say to them? Is that correct, or is that a presumption? Just because they're older and...
Yeah, everybody's online. Yeah. Yep, and that's where then the targeting becomes important, right? So we don't want to throw a huge wide net, but there's probably age comes into a factor with your business, online behavior, people that we know are businesses. I mean, people that are Googling QuickBooks, stuff like that. Like there's ways that we can know that somebody's a business owner, regardless of their age, but everybody's online. Yeah. Anybody else? We've got 2 more minutes.
Last question. Who is your target client, Ascent Digital's target client?
Great question. Well, we love working with all businesses. We really like it when it's effective. So when we can do full funnel advertising, that's obviously, our ideal situation. But I've got clients that spend $70 a month with me and clients that spend $70,000 and everything in between. Honestly, we really do pride ourselves in growing with the businesses that we work with. Because obviously if a business we work with grows, so is their marketing budget, so is their marketing needs, and if we can be a partner with them, then we all win. So it genuinely is. Yeah, yes and no. I mean, we work with businesses all over the country. Sometimes it's nice to not have to see them at the grocery store, and sometimes it's nice to see them at the grocery store too. So yeah, a little bit of both.
Satisfied customer, First Southwest Bank. Highly recommend this.
Thank you. We're so stoked. Thank you. Awesome. Okay, I'm supposed to have a slide with the survey QR code. I don't have it. I apologize. We've got it there. Thank you.
The routine of your program has all the QR codes for all 4, so you just pick the one for the right time. And if you would let us know, this helps us know which sections did well, were well liked, so that we can make sure we're repeating those in future years.
Thank you guys for putting up with me. I appreciate it a ton. Have an awesome rest of the day.